Hey, soccer fans and SO peeps, welcome back to Sons of a Pitch Soccer Central. I'm your host, Nick, and in this episode of our MLS betting picks and predictions, we are looking at the weekend of week 30 in the MLS, September 9th through September 10th, that nice Friday, Saturday slate of games. It is currently Wednesday, September 7th. We're at halftime of the U.S. Open Cup final between Orlando City and the Sacramento Republic. Perfect time to record a betting picks and predictions video right smack dab in the middle of watching the game for a trophy. So let's talk about the odds this weekend. We've got some teams who are fighting for seeding in the playoffs. We've got some teams who are just fighting to get into the playoffs or maintain their spot. And we got other teams who are looking to play spoiler for a few others. In tonight's show, we're going to look at the BetMGM odds for all these matchups. But let's start with our fun little betting quote as usual. This is an anonymous quote from the internet that says, "I am much more comfortable betting on sports than betting on the stock market." Lately, I can see why people would have that sort of sentiment. Let's look at some numbers now, guys. Let's get right into it. We are looking first off at the over-unders. So as I scroll through the games, and I'm going to share my screen in a minute, as I scroll through these games, take a look at the over-unders, because of the 14 matches this weekend, 11 of them have an over-under of 2.5, and the rest are at 3.5. So there's a lot of value to be found because we've been seeing teams go on goal-scoring tears lately. We've also seen teams giving up a lot of goals lately, Minnesota, but also it's been a very high-scoring season in general around MLS, or at least the second half of the season. So look at these overs, because of those 14 matches, like I said, three of them have an over-under of 3.5. Those three matches, Atlanta versus Toronto, Cincinnati versus San Jose, and Portland versus Minnesota, and all those games could still hit the over on it, right? So there's a lot of value in the over and under. I especially am looking at Nashville at home against the Galaxy to hit the over, as well as LAFC versus Dallas to hit the over. So take a look at those games. If you like it, maybe you kind of hedge your bets, throw a $5 down on the over on those matches and see what kind of return you can get. Now, before we get into the odds, remember New York City FC is playing Cincinnati as well right now. And like I said, Orlando City is in that U.S. Open Cup final. And it has been a crazy first half. I fully expect them to have some gassed and tired legs in their next matchup against the Philadelphia Union. Wow, not the team you want to be playing on short rest. That's another one that just because of Philly's potent offense could hit the over on it. All right, let's get into it and make our picks. And while I bring up the screen, I want to remind you, if you'd like to support Sons of a Pitch Soccer Central and help us offset some of our operating costs, as well as put some money towards developing our new website and our hosting fees, you can always leave a super chat and a super thanks here on YouTube, or you can reach out to us on Twitter at SOP Soccer. Hit our direct messages up. Those are open, or you can email us at sonsofapitchsoccer@gmail.com if you'd like to contribute or support the show in other ways. Now let's take a look at the odds. The first matchup is Montreal hosting the Columbus Crew. I'm going to stick with the favorite on this one, Montreal at -115. They are the home team. They are in second. And while I've said on our MLS Weekly Recap shows that they don't look like a trophy-winning team, nothing really jumps out at me, they've been winning games. And Columbus, meanwhile, failed to score against Chicago recently, which does not bode well for their offense. So I'm going to take Montreal at home in this one, the favorite. The next match are the New York Red Bulls taking on New England Revolution. Again, I'm sticking with the favorites, the Red Bulls. They are looking to maintain a top 4 place in the Eastern Conference, and they're coming up against a New England Revolution team who's also had an anemic offense, and I think that the pressing system of the Red Bulls is going to do a number on the Revs. Again, the Revs coming off a 0-0 draw against the Chicago Fire. If you guys can't score on the Fire, I don't have a lot of confidence in you. So I'm going to take the Red Bulls, take the favorite here. Next matchup, Nashville SC hosting LA Galaxy. Nashville has, I think, 14 goals for and 1 goal against in their last 4 games. They have the MVP front runner Hani Mukhtar, and they are firing on all cylinders. Meanwhile, the Galaxy are struggling to get results. They are having a hard time on offense. They're conceding late on defense. Chicharito's not scoring. The only way I see the Galaxy even salvaging a draw is if Ricky Puig scores 2 goals on this one. I'm definitely taking Nashville at home. Our next matchup, Charlotte FC hosting New York City. Now, Charlotte has been pretty good at home up until the last few weeks. Meanwhile, New York City has been a pretty good offensive team up until the last several weeks, right? Or at least up until Tati Castellanos got transferred or put on loan to Girona. So I am actually going to pick the draw on this one because I don't know what NYCFC team is going to show up. If it's going to be one that is struggling defensively and struggling to maintain their possession style, especially on the road, or are we going to see them come in firing and bagging 2, 3, maybe 4 goals on a Charlotte team that might have hit an expansion team wall late in the season? Or are we going to see a Charlotte team that is rejuvenated by playing at home and Karl Swiderski gets back on the score sheet and everyone's playing for jobs and everyone's playing for the pride of Charlotte's expansion season? I don't know what it's going to be. So even though the draw is plus 250 and either team to win is plus 160, plus 150, I'm going to take the draw in here because I have no confidence in this game picking it one way or other. Our next matchup is Atlanta United against Toronto FC. And this is where I'm thinking Atlanta is playing spoiler rather than actually trying to play to make it in the playoffs. Their chances of getting in on some accounts are like less than 4% or 5%, if not a couple percentage points within that. So I don't see Atlanta getting in. However, look at that 3.5 goal line. If Atlanta can score 1 or 2, maybe Toronto bags another 2 or 3 and you hit the over on that one. So that's a potential play. However, I think Joseph Martinez, one of the faces of Atlanta's franchise since their expansion season, Joseph Martinez, I've been hearing is suspended for this match. Double check the roster, double check the news, just to make sure when it comes game day, because MLS rules don't require you to have a set roster beforehand or announce suspensions, injuries, things like that beforehand, like we see in other American sports. But if he is suspended, then I am much more confident in my pick of Toronto FC getting it done on the road in Atlanta. Next matchup, nice East-West matchup. FC Cincinnati hosting the Earthquakes. Cincinnati's good, San Jose's not, and I don't see San Jose getting into a shootout and beating Cincinnati at some like 5-4, 4-3 score. So Cincinnati, home team, favorite, better team, picking them to win this one. Next up, Philadelphia Union hosting Orlando City. As I mentioned, Orlando City is playing midweek in a trophy game, the U.S. Open Cup final, against a tough and physical Sacramento Republic squad. I think Orlando City is just going to rotate their squad, concede the game to Philly. Philly's already the best team in the Eastern Conference, if not the best team in the league right now. Take Philly, even though they are minus 190. I don't see Orlando, especially with the way the schedule is and the way the odds are, even salvaging a draw here. Our next matchup, Chicago Fire hosting Inter Miami. Now, first of all, BetMGM over here has got to get their Chicago Fire logo updated because, man, looking at that Fire Crown emblem just brings back a lot of bad memories and kind of makes me a little sick to my stomach. One of the worst moves in Chicago sports history, at least as far as logos go. But anyway, we're going to get away from that. I actually am favoring Chicago in this matchup. They're still fighting for their playoff lives, even though they have one of those like less than 4% chances to get in. Miami has been playing well. However, I look at the odds. Chicago is the favorite. They are getting a bit of a home team bump, which may not be as big as BetMGM thinks because they are playing this weekend at SeatGeek Stadium in Bridgeview, not at Soldier Field, because the Chicago Bears have kind of first rights to anything that goes on there, and they've got a home game this weekend, NFL kickoff, right? However, I think Chicago has been rotating their squads these last couple weeks. Maybe I'm giving too much credit to the coaching staff and the management, saying they're playing lesser squads against New England and Columbus and okay with those draws in the hopes that they'll run out a full team against Miami. Hopefully Shaqiri is back to full fitness. He'd been nursing a bit of a thigh injury the last couple of weeks, not getting much time. But with him back, and hopefully he picks his game up when he sees Gonzalo Higuain across the pitch from him, I think Chicago actually can get it done. I will warn you, I always say, don't bet with your heart, and Chicago's my home team. So there's definitely a little of that hometown influence in this pick. Moving down, we're going to the Western Conference. Seattle Sounders hosting Austin FC. Seattle, the favorites at minus 110, and I gotta think that is a huge home field advantage for Seattle, considering they are puttering along right now on playoff life support, because they're not above the line, but they're still not out of it. They're close enough where you can have hope. But Austin FC, as we know, is the best offensive team in the league. Because I have no confidence in this, and because the odds for a draw are plus 270, and the odds of Austin winning are plus 260, I'm going to take the draw on this one. I have no confidence in this game. You never know what happens up at Lumen Field for when Seattle's at home. Our next matchup is FC Dallas hosting LAFC. This one, it has been tough to pick because, well, I'm going to go with LAFC. Betting for LAFC all season is probably a good choice, even though they're having a bit of a poor run of form lately. However, they are the favorites at plus 135. Dallas is getting plus 175, and the draw is at plus 250. But again, I'm going to keep riding these LAFC picks because they are the best team. I think with about a month left in the season, I think you finally start to see some of their full squad integrated and getting some playing time and getting some minutes. Meanwhile, if Jesus Ferreira is not scoring for Dallas, Dallas really is struggled on offense. So even though Dallas is the home team, I think LAFC gets the road win, and you get some value on betting LAFC this weekend. Next matchup, Houston hosts Sporting Kansas City, and this is another road value game. Houston just sacked their coach, Paulo Nagamura, after, I think, 8 wins, 16 losses, and a handful of draws. Are they going to get that new coach bump? I don't think so. I don't think with less than a week's time to come in, they're going to get that new coach bump. The Houston Dynamo 2 coach is taking over on an interim basis. Also, 2 assistants were let go, so there is some turnover other than just the head coach. A couple of assistants got let go too. Does this free up Houston to kind of play free and throw a caution to the wind? Maybe. They haven't been able to do it to this point. So even though Kansas City is the road dog, I am going to take them to win this game. Kansas City has been once again proving that they've been down, but you can never count them out. Our next matchup, Colorado Rapids versus Vancouver Whitecaps. 2 teams who have struggled mightily as of late, and I am just going to pick Colorado here because they're the home team. I think this is going to give them an advantage against Vancouver. I've been down on Colorado. I have been up and down on Vancouver during this season, but I'll give Colorado the edge. Looking at those odds at plus 310 for Vancouver, meanwhile minus 135 for Colorado, I think I'll take Colorado on this one. Next matchup, Real Salt Lake hosting DC United. Now, DC United got a surprising win this past weekend, but I don't think that is going to be the norm. I don't think they've turned a corner and are going to finish strong here. They've still got a lot of issues. Meanwhile, you have an RSL team who's also coming off some good results. I think they had a 3-0 win over Minnesota last weekend, if not the match week before that. RSL's looking okay, and they want to go into the playoffs securing a top 7 spot and potentially push into that 4th spot depending on how Dallas and Minnesota finish out the season. So I will give the edge in this one to Real Salt Lake. And our last game of the weekend, let me just get rid of that Tuesday one so no one gets confused. We have the Portland Timbers hosting Minnesota United. This one is also really tough because we've seen them play recently. We saw Portland with the victory at Minnesota. I think that was a 2-1 result. Minnesota has lost 2 straight games, 3-0. And then they had a recent loss to Portland within the last month or so. Is Reynoso back and healthy? Is the other team dealing with adversity? Doesn't look like it. I don't have any faith in Minnesota at this particular week and moment in the season. And Portland at home, hard to bet against them. So I will take Portland in this one. So those are the games. Those are the odds. Make sure you are looking at these over-unders on all of the score totals here as well, so that you can maybe throw a few bucks down on some of these overs here, right? Also, one cool thing about the BetMGM website here is if you click on it, like if I wanted to bet the over on this Montreal Columbus game, you go ahead and click on it. Look down here at the bottom. It'll say a $5 bet returns $8.70 if it hits on it. And the more you add, it'll add it up like a parlay and show you what you can win on it. So we've had a lot of people on our chat talk about how they like picking 3-game parlays or picking a game and an over under on that game as well to kind of double your winnings if you feel really confident, right? Like pick Philly to win and pick Philly to hit the over and make it like a single game parlay and see what odds you can get, and maybe you can turn a couple good individual picks into an excellent play. Now, if you have a different strategy, if there's something that you've noticed over these last several weeks in MLS or in your time betting on games and picking games, please leave a comment in the comment section below. Let us know what you're thinking. Do you have any locks? Do you have any upset picks? Do you have a game where you're just going to throw your hands up and say, I ain't touching that one with a 10-foot betting pole because it is too risky? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you support the channel by not only liking the video and subscribing to the channel, but share the link. Share it with your friends if you like it. If you hate it, share it with your enemies. Maybe they'll hate it too. Who knows? We also will appreciate any sort of financial support. If you make a couple of bucks on your winnings, hey, throw a super chat, throw a super thanks our way here on YouTube, or contact us to see how else you can donate and support the show at SOP Soccer on Twitter and sonsofapitchsoccer@gmail.com via Gmail. Now, let me put up my picks so you can take a look and we will recap them. I have Montreal over Columbus, Red Bulls over New England, Nashville over the Galaxy, Charlotte and NYCFC to draw because I don't know anything about that game. I'm not confident. Atlanta is going to lose to Toronto, Cincinnati to defeat San Jose, Philadelphia over Orlando, Chicago over Miami. Maybe you pick the over on that one too. I have Seattle and Austin as a draw, just because Seattle is at home. I've got LAFC, the road victor against Dallas, Sporting Kansas City, the road victor at Houston, Colorado to defeat Vancouver, Salt Lake over DC, and Portland over Minnesota United. So those are my picks for MLS Week 30, September 9th through 10th. The playoff race is real. It's heating up. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And thank you all for watching.